Hey, so in this video, we're going to give you a really simple thing that you can do to reduce nervousness. If you tell a story in your speech, it's going to help you reduce your nervousness dramatically. So stay tuned. Hey, this is Doug Standard with Fearless Presentations, the fastest, easiest way to eliminate public speaking fear. And I mentioned that we're going to share with you a secret that most professional speakers know to help them reduce their nervousness when they're in front of a group, and that's to get into a story as fast as possible. So tell a story in your speech. It's going to help you reduce your public speaking fear. Now, one of the major reasons why this occurs, by the way, is that the main reason why we have a lot of nervousness when we stand up to speak is that we're afraid we're going to forget something. We're afraid we're going to leave something out. And that really comes a lot from the way that we design our speeches. A lot of times, when we're actually preparing our speech, when we're putting it together, when we're designing it, we're putting together just a series of bullet points. And if you've got 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 150 different bullet points in your presentation, there's a good chance that somewhere along the way, you're going to forget something. You're going to get to one of those bullet points and go, oh man, what the heck was I going to say about this? So if you design your presentations a little bit differently, have fewer bullet points and give examples and stories, it's going to help you reduce your nervousness pretty dramatically. I'll give you an example of this and how this works in real life. When we tell a story, we're basically playing an incident from our life that's a video in our head. So basically all we're doing is recounting something that we've had an experience with. We play that video in our head and then we're just reciting out what we saw. The cool thing about that is that if we were there, if we were an eyewitness to this incident, we don't really have to remember anything. So it doesn't put as much pressure on us when we're delivering that presentation. It's also much more entertaining to the audience to hear a story. The thing that I've heard in class a lot though is that sometimes folks will say, I'm just not a good storyteller. And I have no idea what would make somebody think that you're not a good storyteller, because we do it every day, every single day of our lives, when we're at lunch with a friend, when we're chatting with somebody on the phone, when we're, whatever it is, when we're at the water cooler at the office. A lot of times the way that we're building rapport with people is we just kind of tell stories or examples of things that have happened to us. And sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're interesting, sometimes they're making a point, but it's the way that we converse with people in normal day-to-day life. And for some reason, we tend to kind of disregard that when we're giving our business presentations. So a couple of weeks ago, I was teaching a class and I had a guy who actually said that to me. He said, God, Doug, maybe I'm just weird because I'm just not a good storyteller. And I was just kind of confused because I'm sure he's just like the rest of us. We all have friends and we're conversing with our buddies all day long. But the thing is that I had to kind of get him to snap out of that thought process, because if you think that you're not a good storyteller, guess what? You're not going to be one. So basically all I did was just ask him a few questions, and I had to get him off of the thought process of telling a story in a speech. And so the first question that I asked him, I said, hey, when you were younger, did you ever have a brush with the law? Right? So, those are the things, those are those memorable moments where it's kind of hard to forget that. If you ever got a speeding ticket when you're in high school, or if you ever got ever drank when you were underage or something like that, any of that kind of stuff, we remember those things as we get older. And it's funny because he kind of thought a few seconds and he said, well, I did get a PI. I think that's public intoxication. He said, I did get a PI ticket once when I was in college. And I said, really? Tell me about it. What happened? And basically for the next 3.5 minutes, he went through great details about a really funny story that was a little embarrassing, but a really funny story that had the whole audience kind of captivated. And then once he kind of had that little success, I just asked him another question. I said, hey, what project are you working on right now? And he told me. And I said, at that project, you've been working on that for how many months? And he said, about 6. And I said, during that 6 months, has everything just gone absolutely perfectly, or have you had some challenges or problems along the way? And he said, we have problems from time to time. And I said, out of all the different things that have happened in the last 6 months that have been problematic, what's the one big thing that your team has been able to identify the problem and really solve it? And when he said that, all of a sudden the light bulb kind of came on. I said, hey, now tell me about that. So one of the things about telling stories in speeches is that we have the content already. We don't have to study up on our presentation. We don't have to practice as much. And that's why we're able to reduce our nervousness pretty dramatically when we get into a story. So I would encourage you, when you're preparing your next presentation, when you have a series of bullet points, for each one of those bullet points, kind of think to yourself, okay, when have I seen that bullet point be true? Or how can I give an example to help me better explain that? What's an example that I've seen this in action? And if you come up with those specific incidents, it makes it a whole lot easier to really captivate your audience and reduce your nervousness at the same time. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, make sure and hit the subscribe button. And if you could, leave me a comment if you have questions or if you've had situations where stories have really helped you out in a presentation, leave it in the comment. I like to respond to those as much as I can. I'll see you on the next Fearless Presentations video.